Story 55. Sebastian, the Silent Salamander. Sebastian was such a silent salamander. He would always do his best not to disturb anything whenever he could. He would tread so lightly that a bat would not hear him move in the silence of the night, nor would a hungry lion hear him during the day. This was good news for Sebastian, of course, as not attracting the wrong attention often meant he didn't get involved in any tricky situations. Being one of the smallest salamanders in the region, he liked to keep out of trouble as he didn't think he would be able to defend himself too well at all if he needed to. One evening, as Sebastian was simply walking the forest, he came across a path leading to a particularly fruitful bush. Normally, Sebastian would simply walk down the path to get to the sweet fruit at the other end, although this path was different. As he looked at it, he could see that the path was almost entirely lined with twigs and branches. He couldn't understand why these were there, but it didn't matter, as they were potentially blocking his path. He figured that he would try and get down the path without disturbing the twigs, and started to head down it. As he tiptoed down the path, placing his feet very gently, he stopped and looked around to see how far he had gotten. Looking back, he could see that he had only made it about 4 or 5 meters down the path. The path was much longer than he had traveled, and he knew that there was still quite a way to the end of it. Just then, Sebastian looked up and saw a sparrowhawk sleeping in the area just above the path. Sebastian wasn't too concerned by this at first, as he knew that he would be able to remain silent until the bush at the end of the path. He would just have to be very careful. As he thought this and was looking back up the path, he could see Barry, who he knew was anything but quiet. Barry was much larger than Sebastian and didn't particularly need to be quiet, but Sebastian was much closer to the sparrowhawk and thought that it would most certainly go for him first if it was awoken. Sebastian was too far down the path now to turn back before Barry reached it, but also knew that he wouldn't be able to make it to the safety of the bush either. His only hope was to try and get within earshot of Barry so that he could warn him of the sparrowhawk before he made any noise to wake it. Sebastian made it to within a couple of feet of Barry, just in time to warn him of the sparrowhawk. Barry, however, didn't change what he was doing and headed straight towards the bush, treading on all of the twigs in his way. Crackle, crunch, went the twigs as they broke under Barry's feet. The sparrowhawk awoke immediately and looked straight towards Sebastian. Sebastian froze in fear as the bird looked at him, although then it just flew off in the opposite direction. Confused, Sebastian looked back to Barry to see him puffing his chest up and looking rather tough indeed. The sparrowhawk must have seen Barry directly behind him and decided against attacking them. Just then, Sebastian realized that having friends to help you is just as important as staying out of sight, if not more so. He and Barry then walked down the path, making quite a lot of noise, before reaching the bush and eating to their heart's content. After being saved by Barry's stature, he now decided that he would hang around with him, rather than avoiding him as he had done before. The end.